Thanks for joining us. I'm Luke, and this is Teen Kids News. We're proud to announce that this year marks our 20th anniversary. Let's begin with our top story. Most of us have been doing it since kindergarten. We stand up, face the American flag, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Ava tells us that a similar ceremony takes place every day across the U.S. and even around the world.
Actually, Luke, it happens twice a day. In the morning, precisely at 8 a.m., and then again at sunset. The ceremony is called Colors, and it's a time-honored tradition of the U.S. military.
About 5 minutes until sunset, you'll have the entire U.S. military drawn to the flag to pay their respects. So this is the captain's chair. This is where he'll sit when we're at sea.
Lieutenant Kelly Harris serves on the guided missile destroyer, USS The Sullivans.
During Colors, specifically on a U.S. Navy installation, you're expected to come to attention, stop driving your car, stop walking, turn towards the flag, and pay your respects. So if you're a military member in uniform, you'll salute, and if you're a service member not in uniform or just a regular civilian, you'll stand at attention. When sunset occurs, we will be drawn to attention, and the two sailors will ceremoniously lower the flag as the national anthem is playing behind them. The Navy observes Colors so that twice a day, the U.S. military can pay their respects to the flag, show their patriotism, and everything that it stands for. And after it is lowered, they will fold it ceremoniously.
To me, it means everything that embodies what's proud to be an American.
Although Colors is an American tradition, it was inspired by the British.
So in the late 1700s, the British Navy began having mutinies across their navy. And in order to instill pride and patriotism within their sailors, the British Navy created this ceremony where sailors were able to observe Colors and kind of regain that sense of pride in their country again. The U.S. Navy admired that ceremony and decided to replicate it within our own military. And we have been conducting that ceremony ever since.
When I first observed Colors, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride for my country, for what I was doing as a commissioned officer, and for all the men and women that serve alongside me. It still gives me the same feeling.
So my dad was in the U.S. Navy and my sister's in the U.S. Navy, and so it has always meant something very personal to me. The very first time I observed it was actually as a little girl, and I just remember feeling the sense of pride for my dad and the family business, essentially. But now as a commissioned officer, I think it means so much more. And I'm just overwhelmed with a sense of pride for this country and my job, and that I'm able to serve.
If you're inspired to do your part to serve your country, there are tons of career opportunities in all 6 branches of the U.S. military. You can get a lot of great information online. And to Lieutenant Harris and everyone else in the U.S. military, from the bottom of our hearts here at Teen Kids News, thank you for your service. I'm Ava.
We've got lots more coming up on Teen Kids News, so keep watching. We'll be right back.
What's in the name?
When looking for a name that would capture the spirit of their coffee company, management turned to American literature. Specifically, Herman Melville's epic Moby Dick. Why would an obsessive, one-legged sea captain hunting a murderous and vindictive albino whale help sell coffee? Well, you might ask. The company's website explains they wanted a name that evoked the romance of the high seas and the seafaring tradition of the early coffee traders. So they thought of naming their company after the whaling ship, the Pequod. As anyone who's ever dived into Melville's almost 2,000-page novel knows, things don't end well for the Pequod and her crew. But you have to admire the ship's first mate. a courageous and honorable man. He didn't want to go hunting the white whale. The company chose to adopt his name and add an S, and call themselves Starbucks. And to stay with the seafaring motif, there's even a mermaid on the logo. So yes, how the world's largest chain of coffee houses got its name is truly a whale of a tale. With What's in a Name, I'm Emily.
Ever wonder why some people are mosquito magnets while others hardly ever get bitten? You might say it's in your genes. Those with type O blood are more attractive to skeeters than those with types A or B. Speaking of genes, the clothes you wear also play a role. Seems those flying bloodsuckers zero in faster on people wearing colors like red, green, and black.
This week, I'm going to tell you about an artist who helped win a war. Like many other Americans, Norman Rockwell listened attentively to President Franklin Roosevelt when he gave the State of the Union address in 1941. At the time, the world was at war, and America was soon to be as well. The president spoke about 4 freedoms he believed everyone, everywhere deserved.
The first is freedom of speech and expression everywhere in the world. The second is freedom of every person to worship God in his own way everywhere in the world. The third is freedom from want, which translated into world terms means economic understandings which will secure to every nation a healthy, peacetime life for its inhabitants everywhere in the world. The fourth is freedom from fear.
Rockwell was so taken by the speech that he decided to paint those 4 freedoms. They were first printed in the magazine Rockwell painted covers for, the Saturday Evening Post. The paintings were a huge success. People all over the country ordered copies. Not only that, but Uncle Sam borrowed the paintings and set them on tour to inspire Americans to buy war bonds. The tour raised more than $130 million for the U.S. military. You might say that Norman Rockwell fought the Germans and Japanese single-handedly, armed with only a paintbrush. With Art Smart, I'm Katie.
Movie superstar Leonardo DiCaprio likes to collect action figures. In fact, his collection would probably impress even Jay Gatsby. That's the character that DiCaprio portrayed in the movie The Great Gatsby. Star Wars characters and superheroes seem to be his favorite collectibles. But DiCaprio also puts his collecting to good use. Over the years, he's donated a number of his vintage toys to charity auctions. One auction raised more than $100,000 to protect the environment. Guess you can say that sort of makes Mr. DiCaprio a superhero himself. For Teen Kids News, I'm Chloe.
We have to take a quick break, but don't go away because Teen Kids News will be right back. It's time for Make the Grade. Here's Christin with this week's advice.
Studying a second language in school has a lot of advantages. Not only are you enhancing your college application while also learning about cultures, becoming proficient in a second language could help you get a job. Let's say you're interested in going into healthcare. Doctor, nurse, therapist, social worker. Those are just a few of the many careers in the medical field. Knowing Spanish would be a valuable asset. That's because more than 40 million Americans are native Spanish speakers, so bilingual healthcare workers will be in demand. If you're planning to make business your business, consider studying Mandarin Chinese. China is an economic powerhouse that is becoming increasingly powerful. As more and more American companies do business with China, more and more American business people who speak Mandarin will be needed. If you see yourself working to help people around the world, that probably means a job in the humanitarian sector. For example, working for international organizations that fight poverty or pollution, or who fight for social justice. While English is still the most common international language, There are lots of countries where also being able to speak French would be a huge asset. French is also valuable if you want to go into the diplomatic corps. By the way, a language that has recently become more popular to study is Arabic. US businesses and even the US government say they can't hire enough people who can speak Arabic. I'm Christin, here to help you make the grade.
So I think that something Teen Kids News taught me a lot about is being confident networking and having conversations with people you may have not spoken to before and being confident with that. I think an example of that really comes from my field reporting experience, where I would have to go into a room full of strangers and pick out some people to interview and go initiate a conversation with them and continue to respond to answers they had and give them questions. And it really taught me the confidence in going to start a conversation and being able to have a professional discussion with someone.
It was a good experience in how to deal with stress. So, you get nervous, you get excited about things, but there's still a job that has to be done.
But mostly I learned a lot about responsibility. When you're filming a TV show, as an anchor in particular, you have a lot of responsibility to, finish things on time, do well, respect everyone's time. So I think that was the most humbling and important lesson.
I learned just how important journalism is. I learned that even young people can have a say in journalism and understand journalism.
I think I learned that the people I'm interviewing can get very nervous on camera because they've never experienced it before, and so it's really important to make them comfortable.
So just look at me. We're just talking. So if my mic is not underneath you, don't start talking. Okay.
And reassuring them that whatever they say is not going to sound as silly as they think.
Rock and roll never forgets, and I don't think these kids will either.
I learned how to deal with distractions and how you have to look at the camera, deliver your lines clearly, even if there's a lot of activity going on in the background, because oftentimes that's what makes for the better shot. The reporter is standing there delivering the content and the activity is going on in the background.
From my Teen Kids News experience, I learned a lot of public speaking abilities. I think that the amount of time that I spent delivering the news made me a presenter.
We all know smoking is terrible for us, so why do teens try it? A new study shows Hollywood is partly to blame.
And though I don't really do the same type of work today, there is a lot of that I carry through my life generally.
This important message is brought to you by the National Road Safety Foundation. They want you to keep your hands on the wheel, your eyes on the road, and your mind on driving. The NRSF produces lots of helpful videos. To see more of them and for info on driving safety, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the National Road Safety Foundation.
I'm Bryce McLaughlin, this week's Rising Star, next on Teen Kids News.
Well, this house ain't home. Well, this house ain't home.
We call them rising stars, teens who have the talent and the craving to make it in the very tough world of entertainment. Let's meet one of them.
Imagine this. A lonely man is wandering through his house. He's seeing things that painfully remind him of the woman he loves, but who left him. That's the theme of the debut song by 17-year-old Bryce McLaughlin. Here's This House Ain't a Home.
Every picture's where you left it, like memories hanging on. Every breath I take is lonely, and every night is long. Every morning when I wake up, each side of the bed is wrong. Oh, this house ain't a home. No, this house ain't a home.
Bryce, you really captured the pain of losing someone you love. I hope it's not based on personal experience.
No, it's not. It's not based on personal experiences. It's just it's kind of an idea I had. Something I figured it's a story I could make, so I could write something that people can relate to if they're going through something, or if they're having any troubles, they could listen to the song and kind of have a feeling of empathy towards it.
As a songwriter, where do you get your inspiration from?
Well, I'd like to say most inspiration comes from personal thoughts or personal experiences, or sometimes it can be a story you think of or something like that.
Since you live in Louisiana, I guess it's not surprising that your style is a bit Southern rock and a bit blues.
Growing up around here, it's Southern rock and blues and stuff like that. It impacts you and makes you who you are as a musician. So, I guess where I'm from is kind of what I put out as my music.
Who are your music idols?
I'd have to say my music idols are definitely Creedence Clearwater Revival and Leonard Skinner, all the Southern rock bands, stuff like that.
Speaking of idols, you auditioned for American Idol and got a golden ticket. That must have been exciting.
It was awesome. It was one of the best experiences I've had so far in my music career, and I would do it again tomorrow.
Sounds like an amazing experience. Thank you for talking with us.
Thank you.
Bryce says he's not sure yet what career he wants to follow. He may decide to become a lawyer. But he says that whatever his career, music will always be a big part of his life. For Teen Kids News, I'm Katarina.
Oh, this house ain't a home. No, this house ain't a home. No, this house ain't a home. No, this house ain't a home. Well, this house ain't a home. Well, this house ain't a home. Well, this house ain't a home. No, this house ain't a home.
Research says the sound of a mother's voice has a physical effect on her children. It actually makes them calm down. Interestingly, it's not the words she uses, it's the sound of her voice. So if you're stressed out, phone home. But remember, it only works when you hear your mom's voice. Instant messages won't do the trick.
It's time for another short break, but we'll be right back with more Teen Kids News, so stay with us.
Want to do better on your next test? Eat breakfast. Studies show that students who eat a good breakfast usually get higher test scores, especially if that breakfast contains foods made from whole grains, like toast made with 100% whole wheat. Of course, just eating breakfast isn't enough to get good grades. You still need to study.
Although modern Jordan is a country that is more than 90% Muslim, it plays an important role in both the Christian and Jewish religions. High up this road is the crest of Mount Nebo, with its small church and monastery. According to the Old Testament, it was here where God showed Moses the Promised Land, or more poetically, the land of milk and honey. Looking west, the barren expanse makes it a bit hard to visualize just how promising the Promised Land was. A metal plaque shows you what's in the hazy distance. To the right, the ancient city of Jericho. To the left, Jerusalem. That's the Dead Sea, one of the boundaries between Jordan and Israel. Over the years, popes like John Paul II have visited Mount Nebo to take in a view that has changed very little since the days of Moses. During one of the papal visits, an olive tree was planted to symbolize peace. A museum filled with photos, maps, and artifacts attracts visitors of all faiths. Near the church stands a stone memorial to Moses. As it's recounted in the Old Testament, when shown the Promised Land, Moses was told by God that sadly he would never live to enter it. But we shouldn't feel too badly for the man who gave the world the 10 Commandments. When Moses died, the Bible tells us he was 120 years old. With Jordan Journal, I'm Olivia.
Well, that wraps up our show for this week. But we'll be back with more Teen Kids News next week. See you then.